Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Jonathan Ferrini on the line, and he's a senior broker and restaurant consultant over at Restaurant Realty Company. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hello, Adam. Pleasure to engage with you today.
All right, so I'm excited to get today's topic. So we're going to talk about buying and selling restaurants. But before we get into that, I want to know a little bit more about what you're doing over at Restaurant Realty Company. Tell us a little bit more about the business, please.
Restaurant Realty Company is the largest brokerage company that specializes solely in the sale of restaurants, bars, and clubs. We're the largest company in California that does that. That's all we do. We don't sell houses. We don't sell liquor stores, just restaurants, bars, and clubs. Last year, we sold almost 100 restaurant, bars, and clubs up and down the state. We were founded in the mid-1990s by the principal of the company in the Bay Area. And to date, we've sold over 2,000 restaurants, bars, and clubs, and valued over 3,000. We have offices up and down the state, literally from Northern California down to San Diego.
So at the end of this, I'm going to give you an opportunity to leave your contact information, website, all that other good stuff, just so that the right business owners contact you. Is there any particular niche in restaurants or clubs or otherwise, if there is one, just want to make sure the right type of people follow up with you?
We're looking for those owners of restaurants, primarily owners, sellers, that wish to sell a restaurant, bar, or club. It could be a straight bar with a 48 type ABC license. It could be a sit-down restaurant with a type 41 beer and wine license, or it could be a club. And generally speaking, the restaurants will sell for a variety of reasons. I've sold restaurants that have been open for 50 years, and the partners are just tired, and it's time to sell. I've sold restaurants, bars, and clubs where, unfortunately, they just weren't making it, and they needed to sell. And in some instances, I've sold restaurants, bars, and clubs where there were partnership conflicts, and the partnerships had to be dissolved, and we were able to successfully sell those.
And your background, that's exactly why I wanted you on the show for this one. So buying and selling restaurants, not an easy thing to do. Where do you want to start with this topic?
Well, I liken it to this. First of all, I'm a 30-year veteran of commercial real estate brokerage. I've worked for 3 of the top firms in the nation. For the past 6 years, I've been exclusively devoted to Restaurant Realty Company. I grew up in the restaurant business, as did the founder of our company, and I grew tired of the general commercial real estate brokerage scene, and I just thought it was a good fit for me to transition into restaurants. Selling a restaurant, bar, or club requires a specialist. If you need heart surgery, you do not go to a dentist, okay? If you have a restaurant, bar, or club, you do not go to the guy or the gal that sold you your house, nor do you not go to a commercial broker who is leasing out space in a shopping center, and you sure as hell don't want to go to a business broker that has not sold a restaurant. When we value restaurants, bars, and clubs, it's based upon a detailed analysis of the profit and loss statements of the business for the past 3 years, the lease, which is critical, balance sheet, and tax returns. I liken the analysis to forensic accounting. It's a very complicated analysis in order to arrive at the value of a restaurant. That's why it's imperative to seek out a specialist like Restaurant Realty Company.
So talk a little bit more about, because I don't want to assume that, and depending on, somebody that's listening to this right now, they may have inherited the restaurant. They've may have never gone through the process of actually buying or selling a restaurant, multiple generation owners. And then also, maybe people that bought the restaurant and didn't, and it's their first time considering selling it. Can you talk a little bit more about the process and what valuation looks like? And we won't go too deep into it, but I want to give them a flavor, because I feel like some people oversimplify, and maybe they think, oh, I'll just list it. I know what it's worth, and it may not be the case. They may be leaving some money on the table.
It happens all the time, Adam. More often than not, they don't leave money on the table. They'll overprice the asset. And unfortunately, when they overprice the asset and they don't market the establishment on a confidential basis, which is what we do, and anybody that looks at any of our opportunities must sign a non-disclosure agreement, which requires them to visit the restaurant as a customer and not to talk to any employees, because once the word gets out that the establishment might be in play, you begin to lose employees. Okay, so the process basically works where I will meet with the owner and I will ask for 3 years of profit and loss statement. If they have not been open that long, I will ask for 1 or 2 years. I'll ask for up to 3 years of tax returns, a balance sheet, and most importantly, I will ask for a copy of the lease. And I will examine all those documents with a fine-tooth comb. There are 2 methods of doing it. If the establishment is making money, there's one methodology for doing it. And if the restaurant isn't making money, there's another methodology. So it's all in the numbers. The biggest hurdle most restaurant operators are facing in California today is the landlord. Okay, we like to see rent as a percentage of gross annual sales of less than 10%. Okay, when you're north of 10%, you essentially have a silent partner in your business who's eating away like a termite at your bottom line, and that's the landlord. Okay, so it's imperative that I look at the lease. If the owner wishes to go ahead with the sale, then I contact the landlord and make sure that the landlord is amenable to an assignment of the lease. Because if the landlord will not assign the lease, there's no deal. And I've had that happen. We do sell restaurants where the real estate is also owned by the restaurant operator. And those are wonderful opportunities to sell because everybody likes to own the real estate. So it really begins with a meeting with the owner. What are their objectives? What would they like to get for the business? And then I go and I look at the numbers and I give them an honest assessment of where I think it is, the value is, okay, and what the hurdles are and what the process is.
So, Jonathan, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information about connecting with you or your team over at a Restaurant Realty Company, I mean, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The first thing I would do is to go to the web. Go to restaurantrealty.com. We usually show up at the top of a Google search. Go on there and scroll down under agents and look for Jonathan Ferrini, F-E-R-R-I-N-I. That will give you my email number, my email address, my phone number. I can help you anywhere in the state. And I'm happy to have conversations, even if they're preliminary, with anybody who's interested in talking about possibly selling a restaurant. Everything remains confidential, okay? I don't discuss any conversations about any real estate and any restaurants with anybody. So don't feel concerned about letting the cat out of the bag. And I'd be happy to speak with anybody, discuss the process, the procedures, the costs, and it'll give you an opportunity to really look at our comprehensive website. It's state-of-the-art. Twice a month, we send out an email newsletter to over 50,000 customers that have signed non-disclosure agreements with us, that have proven they have the money and the managerial experience to buy a restaurant. And I think that they will be sufficiently impressed by what they see, and I would encourage them to call me.
Fantastic. Jonathan, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at Restaurant Realty Company. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review in the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Jonathan, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for your time, Adam.